Hi everyone, this is Kari, and this evening we assembled the Noteworthy Simple Page Kit from Creative Memories, and it was kit number 9 for September. And I wanted to record a quick video of us doing this digitally using Forever's Artisan software. So I wanted to just start out showing that I created an instruction guide for you to use. So if people were using their paper stash, they can use this guide. If you're creating it digitally, you can use the same guide. And we have what the cut apart was, we have what the photo dimensions are, but the key pieces for you if you're going to do this digitally is that this has the dimensions of the base paper up here at the top. And then at the bottom, I have dimensions for the final layout. So I am going to go ahead and work on assembling this. And the nice thing about this layout is that while it is not a perfect mirror image between the right and the left pages, it is close enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the left page and then mirror image it to create the right and then just modify it. So I'm going to go ahead and move that to my other screen so I can see it. So like I like to always start out with a rectangular shape that is the entire size of the page, and I am going to start that with this gray color and create. If you want it to get it centered in the page, you can go up to the home, arrange, align, center on page. That's one option. You can also just go up to the quick access toolbar and make the X 0 and the Y 0. And then I'm going to insert another shape. This one is going to be 10 by 3.5. And this one was a light greenish color. And it was 0.75 down from the top and 2 inches in. So I'm just going to change the Y on that to be 0.75. Now, you could always just go ahead and insert the shape again and just make it the dimensions you want, but this time I'm going to copy it just to show another option. So I'm going to paste it in, and I'm going to change the height of this one to be 7 inches, and I will change the color. So this is just another way of doing it. Like we always say, there are tons of ways of doing the exact same thing within Artisan. And what else? So that's essentially the base paper that Creative Memories provided for us. Then there was also a 2-inch by 12-inch banner. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just do this assembly here. So this is going to be 12 by 2, and I'm going to change the fill to be dark brown. And it was very hard to tell where this was aligning on the Creative Memories page, whether it didn't look like it was as high up as this. So I attempted to line it up so the middle was very close to where the green and this rust color kind of papers met. So that's, I don't think it really matters. And you can shift it up or down depending on whatever you have and what your photos are going to be. So then I'll go ahead and just go back and create a rectangle that is 4 by 4. This was an orangish color. And then there was a photo frame that went with it, and that one's going to be 3.5 by 3.5. And sometimes I get typing and get too fast. So I'm going to line those up, and I will put that down here. Gonna center it. Go. And then there was a 4 by 6 photo mat. That one's going to be over here. Then I'll add an empty photo frame. This one will be 3.5 by 5.5. And that is essentially it for those bases. Now, the one additional item that we had here is that this strip was banner cut on one end, and there are well, at least 3 different ways of doing this that I know of. I will show you 2 because 2 of them are fairly similar. So I am going to select this piece, and I'm going to copy it and paste it so I have 2 of them that I can show you. So the first way is to cut out a shape out of the end. And a lot of times we'll actually take a triangle and do this, and I will just show what that's going to be like. And if you rotate this 90 degrees and you make the base of it basically the same size as the width of your piece of paper. So I wanted it 2 inches, but if I move this in, I can get a different depth of my cut. And depending on how much you want to take out of it, because if you take it out like that, it's going to be kind of maybe too much, but you can drag and this end in as much as you want or as little as you want and take a piece out of that. And I am going to keep the unshaded area and I'm going to cut. So that's one option. Actually, I guess I will show you all 3 that I can think of. So I'm going to copy this so I have one more. The other option is to do the same thing, go to cutter shapes, and this time we're going to take a square out of it. So this one's might be a little easier, might not be easier. This one, you're going to have to rotate your square 45 degrees so it ends up being on its tip. And you can change the measurements in the panel over here. So it's somewhere around 1.4 is about right. And if you zoom in with the toolbar on the bottom, you can go in, zoom in, and take an even better look to make certain that you have your points aligned really nicely, and take a nice snip out of that. And if you are really concerned about the precision, you can always change the size of your square in the panel on the right to be exactly the same. So now I'm still going to keep the unshaded area and I'm going to cut. So that's the second way. And then the third way is a little bit different than that. Instead of cutting a shape out of it, we're going to actually just edit this shape. But before we do that, it's very helpful if you give yourself a ruler marker that aligns on this center square that's right here. So when the shape is formed, not only are there little squares at the corners, but there's also a square in the middle of the edge. So I want this ruler to be right in the middle of that square, and the closer it is to the middle of the square, the better your shape's going to end up being. So I'll zoom back out a little bit. Okay, so I'm selected on this rectangle. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go shape, edit, shape. And I'm going to add a point. And as soon as I am on this edge, I will get a point. And wherever I drag that edge, I'm going to have a little point and a little pointer finger. And as long as I drag that in along that ruler marker that I already gave myself, I will be right in the center. So if you forgot to give yourself the ruler marker, you can eyeball it. And then you can always come back in and edit the shape. So let's say I didn't get it exactly where I wanted it and I forgot. I can always come back in, right click, shape, edit shape, and drag that dot right to where I want it. If I decide I want the banner to be cut in a little bit more, I can do that. If it wasn't a banner cut and I wanted it to be the opposite direction. I can't remember what they're called, but whatever these are, you can actually do that by just dragging that point. Now, there's a lot of people who don't like using shape edit shape and aren't comfortable with it. So, but this is a really good tool to have. I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see how that one looks. And I think that looks like a reasonable depth. So I'm going to say, okay. So those are 3 different ways to get the same effect. And it doesn't matter which one you use. You can use whichever one you're comfortable with, but it's good to just know that there are options. So I am going to go ahead and now I'm going to just slide that back down at the right level. And now I can mirror image this to get my second page, and it always inserts it ahead. So as soon as my Artisan stops thinking, I can actually click on the correct page. I will drag it over to the other side and I will just edit this the way I need to. Feel like the Jeopardy song should be playing because it's not coming up yet. All right, so the rest of this layout, there was another set of these, but they were in here. And then there was this one. But these were rotated horizontally. So if I take this and I rotate it horizontally, and then I were to bring a picture in, it would have, just take this one, it would come in sideways. So you really, if you do that, that's probably not what you want to do. But if you happen to rotate things and later realize that you shouldn't have, you can always flatten it. But with something like this, there we go, then you have to return it to a photo drop point. So the easier way to do that is if you just actually go up to the quick access toolbar, and where it was 4 by 6, now make it 6 by 4. And then it will be exactly the way you want it. And now, depending on the photos and what you have, you may want to add a photo. You may want to have a portrait photo instead of a landscape photo. And now my Artisan is saying we want to slow down again. Okay, so this was basically the layout. And I'll show you the sample again from the instructions. I'll go back up to the top. So this was the sample that Creative Memories had made. And you can see they actually had some stickers running across the top of the banner. They had some sticker embellishments in a couple of different clusters, 2 on the left page, 1 on the right page. But there's still plenty of room if you wanted to add more photos or have different orientations of photos. There's still a lot of options and a lot of possibilities with this. So I will share the page that I created, which I'm not quite done with, but it was getting late, so I wanted to just be able to wrap up. So I used a Creative Memories kit. It was Go Fetch, and it had a number of papers, but it also had this cut apart page that I decided I wanted to try to use. There were a couple of different ones with different sayings and different things on them. So I thought I would use this. And I also used a ribbon. It wasn't actually a ribbon. It was a thin strip of paper. It was one of these papers that was here, and made it a banner cut also. So Lynn, do you want to share also your page? And I will look at that on the recording.
Okay, I can do that.
Ooh, very nice. So we saw this on the traditional recording too, but You-
The Song of the Seasons complete kit by Laura Berger.
Really
And I
nice.
used the spring pages.
Nice.
So,
Very nice.
and I used a frame. There were no embellishments that went across, like a thin ribbon or something that went across. So I took a frame that's in the kit. Should be easy to find, you'd think. No, really doesn't matter what frame I use, but there it is. I just added the frame to the page, and I did a cut shapes, and I went in and did a rectangle that went inside the frame. And I hit keep the shaded area, cut. Aha, I just did the wrong thing. Shapes, rectangle. Now I want to keep the shaded area because what I want is that. But you know what? I'll keep both areas, and that way I can get rid of the area that I don't want. And then I just stretched it and placed it where I wanted it.
Nice.
Never knew it was a frame.
Yep. Not until you said something.
Yep.
I wouldn't have known. All right.
That's it.
Well, appreciate everybody watching. If you do create a layout using the instructions, we'd love to see them. And feel free to share them on our Consistently Creative Croppers Facebook group and drop a comment here on YouTube, and because we'd love to see what you think. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.